Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Real Talk. This week is all about Marvel, and we're going to be here at the Minnesota Zoo today, away from campus this week, as we're going to be discussing about Marvel. And for a special treat for you guys, we're going to be getting a tour of IMAX Theaters here today as well. It's going to be a full fun ride for everyone here, and I'm looking forward to share it with you here today. Now, first off, before we get started on this whole big adventure of exploring all the animals at the Minnesota Zoo today and giving our review of Avengers Infinity War later here tonight, we're going to talk about what was popping this week as well here with a little bit of news coming at you. First off, Andy, what are so far the statistics for Avengers Infinity War going on right now with it being so hot?
Yeah, basically Infinity War it's going to blow up. Like, it's got an estimated, opening weekend gross for, $245 million. I checked on Box Office Mojo earlier today, and it had, $95 million from domestic and foreign. And, Rotten Tomatoes, it's doing pretty good. Critic score is, 86.
Okay.
And, audience score is, in the 90s.
I would expect that, obviously.
So it's going to be doing pretty good.
All
no
right.
Last Jedi this time. We'll be okay.
All right, so there's a little bit of information of how well Avengers Infinity War is doing so far. Another thing dealing with Marvel news kind of in a way that happened this week was the new Venom trailer hit this week as well. What were your opinions on that?
It was a trailer for Venom. I'm sort of half and half on it. I'm optimistic for this Venom movie, but also it's still kind of Sony trying to make their own Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man.
Right. It's like they've been arguing about that for years. I personally really enjoyed the trailer as well. You know, the first one that was just a teaser, I was like, oh, where's Venom? Is nowhere in here. But later,
he was in a frame crawling up.
Yeah, crawling up. You had to look really close.
What's his name again?
Yeah, but overall, I really enjoyed the suit itself. I thought it was a really good job of how they did that.
Oh yeah, it looks straight out of the comics.
Right. And then not to mention too, I heard that it's been rumored right now that Tom Holland might show up in there, possibly.
I think it's just a rumor right now, and it's also a rumor he's only going to be Peter Parker, no suited up Spider-Man at all.
And then otherwise too, I heard that it might be rated R too.
Oh yeah, rated R. That would probably do the character justice.
It's a very gruesome character.
Yeah, Venom's a kind of a hardcore character, so rated R could do it, or it'll just look like a rip-off of Deadpool.
Right. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to see Tom Hardy this October of seeing him in Venom. But more importantly, we're more looking forward to Avengers Infinity War here tonight as well. But before we go and get a tour of IMAX Theaters here is the Venom trailer right here. We'll see you right after this.
Thank you for bringing us collectively to this moment. It is a moment that so many have dreamed of claiming. History starts today.
The guy you work for is an evil person.
I don't work for him. My firm works for him. Are you gonna behave yourself tomorrow?
I told you I'm gonna do my job. I'm a reporter. I follow people that do not want to be followed.
What about the allegations that you recruit the most vulnerable for tests that end up killing people?
Your time to go.
You finished, Mr. Brock?
Was that a threat?
You had to learn how to hide in plain sight. I'm pretty good at it. But you suck. Whoever you are.
I work at the Life Foundation, and I need your help. We found something. We call them symbiotes. Carlton Drake believes that the union between human and symbiote is the key to our evolution.
I'm feeling really sick. I'm hearing a voice. Eddie.
You're not real. You were just in my head.
I'm gonna need Mr. Drake's property back.
I don't know.
Why would we do that?
If you're gonna stay, you will only hurt bad people.
The way I see it, we can do whatever we want. Do we have a deal?
Are you willing to sacrifice?
The
one thing you hold most dear. You should be extremely afraid. What the hell are you?
We are Venom.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a tour of IMAX today. I'm ready to show you guys what is the difference between a regular movie theater and the IMAX experience itself. Let's go have a look. All right, so I'm here with Charles. Charles, what is the most important thing to you when it comes to the IMAX experience itself compared to a regular movie theater?
Geez, I mean, it's got to be just the size of the screen, 6 stories tall, 7 stories wide. You're just way more in depth in the movie. I mean, other theaters, it's like, yeah, it's bigger than a TV, but it's just not the same, man. Plus the sound is just so much better, honestly.
Yeah, I've said, like, when I came here last spring, the sound is like really
Yeah, no, it's definitely. It's not just like I don't know. It's just way better in general. Not just louder, but it just seems like you just pick up way more than you normally do from any other theater.
Like if it was a horror film, you'd be able to pick up the footsteps a lot more.
100%, yeah.
You'd feel like you were like if we were watching A Quiet Place or something like that.
No food allowed. No food allowed in that theater.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so is it all right if we go have a look at the IMAX theater here today?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, excellent. All right, so we are now up in the projection screen room. Thank you again, Jeff, for letting us up here. This is a really cool experience. Now, the difference here between what it was then and what it was now has been enhanced recently with an IMAX experience. First off, IMAX was started in the 1970s, but it didn't have a big full sweep until the 2000s. And then eventually we came on to this bad boy. It is all digital now. It's a digital IMAX projector. And notice how there's 2 of them. That's to make sure that it gets the 3D experience that we all know and love. Because you have 2 different cameras getting 2 different angles to give it that popping image. Now, of course then, back in the 1970s as well, you had these bigger machines right here that you see right here. This was the projector itself right here. And how it would work is that we would have, say, a big reel like this right here. This is all the film right here for one movie. Right on this little bad boy right here. That is all one movie right there, folks. A giant film reel. Because with IMAX cameras themselves, they take up so many frames per second that it takes a lot more footage to give it that more smoother, clearer image. Then what would happen is that while this reel is unraveling, it would go into the projectors right into here at a very fast, constant rate. So fast that it would get really hot in there. And as you can see, you got like vacuum tube right up here and stuff like that. They would have to suck out all the air out of there. Now, of course, even with it more today, I actually even would say it's a little bit more hotter with these digital projectors as well. Come take a look at this. As you can hear from it, it's a little bit more quieter, but you can definitely hear they're trying to suck out that air as much as possible. Here it is right here, that tube that I was talking about earlier. They're trying to get all that heat out of there because it's a laser lens or laser within it itself now. So it's a lot of different technology from what it was in the 70s with what we saw earlier. And it's really cool for the experience overall of getting a giant picture off of a really crisp image with really a lot of frames per second still. You still have a lot of frames per second like we saw with that big reel, but it's all digital now. Now the most important thing with an IMAX theater itself is the screen. The screen is about 28 by 58 usually in a normal theater, right? But with IMAX theater screens, it goes way bigger than that, up to 76 feet by 97 feet. As you can see, this thing is ginormous. It's like something you would see in a football stadium. And on top of that, the listening experience of hearing the surround sound in here is like going to a rock concert. You can't miss something like this. So, Charles, thank you so much for letting us have a look at that today. I really enjoyed looking at the projector room and I like how you guys actually still have the really old one up there too and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for checking it out, Aaron.
All right. So, I think also you told me too that this is the only IMAX theater in Minnesota, like actual IMAX footage and actual like IMAX experience.
Yeah, definitely. So other theaters, they'll just like either just have the IMAX sound, just have the screen, or just have the projector, but they'll brand themselves as IMAX. But yeah, we're the only theater around that has the actual full experience, the full IMAX experience, sound, screen, and projector.
All right, that's good to know. So if you want the full IMAX experience, some people have said that like there's an IMAX theater downtown in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. That is not the full experience. If you want the full IMAX experience, come to the Minnesota Zoo here in Apple Valley and come and check it out for yourself. We're ready to go see Avengers Infinity War tonight, and it's gonna be a blast. I'm lucky that I'm here to go and do this and experience.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming, Aaron. And yeah, we also got Deadpool 2 coming up next. We got Solo. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
All right, thank you very much, Charles.
Yeah, thank you.
There was a look at IMAX for everybody there. Hope you enjoyed the tour, and maybe next time you'll be able to go and take a look at IMAX Theaters yourself. It's a great experience, and I've enjoyed it the past 3 times that I've gone to it, and I'm sure you will as well. Now, coming up next year, after this commercial break, we're going to be going and looking at the Minnesota Zoo and interacting with the animals and everything. It's part of the experience here as well, making a whole big trip out of it for your family if you would like to come and see it sometime. So, see you right after this. Hello and welcome back to Real Talk. We are now going to go and take a look at the Minnesota Zoo itself and all the animals that they have in store for us. Let's go have some fun.
It's you in bird form.
Ah, what do you know? It is. All legs, barely any body. There?
There's a pretty big monkey beard going on.
The beard?
Pretty big beard.
He looks like Dumbledore, Gandalf. We found Pumbaa. They look like dogs.
Big ball of gas.
Where's Timon? They call him Mr. Pig.
They call me Mr. Pig!
Ladies and gentlemen, the backside of water.
The size of this thing.
That's all the sides of the water. Hey! And he's gone. All right, so we're back from the zoo now. We had a fun day interacting with a bunch of animals, seeing a bunch of animals, but now it's time to get back to what we're here for Real Talk. It's about Marvel. It's about Infinity War. And well, I'm here with my good friend Zach Anderson, and we're going to be discussing our top 3 Marvel movies that we've seen throughout growing up with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we're going to start from 3 and make it on down to 1. So for number 3 on my list is definitely got to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I thought it was a great soundtrack, not to mention it was the very first movie that I saw in IMAX Theaters for the first time, so it was a great experience of hearing all that music, not to mention the comedy as well with it. What do you think, Zach?
I think it's a great movie. It's got a great storyline that between Star-Lord and his dad, finding his dad and realizing what he really is. You know, it doesn't quite get up there for me, but when it comes to the comedy, it's really good. For that one, I just felt like it went a little too overboard with the comedy, but not enough to make it a bad movie in my eyes.
Yeah, I didn't go Thor Ragnarok comedy-wise, where it was like a punchline every minute.
Yeah. So, for my number 3, I actually went with the most recent one before Infinity War. I went with Black Panther. What Ryan Coogler was able to do with this movie was introduce a completely new world inside of our own, and introduce us to these new characters, and just was able to create a great storyline between the Black Panther and his long-lost cousin, Killmonger, and was able to make, I was able to relate with, I could understand what Killmonger was going for. And, he wasn't just the, mustache-twirling bad guy. You could understand.
He had a purpose.
You could feel where he was coming from. So it was just the whole thing just came together so great for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. Not to mention the fact of how much detail they did with African culture in general too. Not just like how they dressed, but like the combat moves as well. That it's actually related to how they would fight within their culture as well, which I thought was really great. How they put all that much effort into Black Panther itself.
Yeah, and I mean, the way Ryan Coogler directs anything he does, you know, I've been a fan of his since I saw Creed. That's honest. Creed is probably up there with one of my all-time favorite movies, and whatever Ryan Coogler decides to do in the future, as far as directing wise, I'm gonna be first in line to see it.
Sounds good. Which brings us then next to number 2. Number 2 for my favorite in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. We get a bunch of information from this that takes place after the Avengers of what S.H.I.E.L.D. has actually become. Not to mention then we get Captain America's best friend Bucky back as well. He's back into the picture. There's a lot going on with secrecy and along the lines of a lot of actually great hand-to-hand combat within it as well. It's one of the very few, I think, that actually goes back to just back on the ground hand-to-hand combat, unlike Iron Man where he's flying everywhere and zapping everything he pleases.
Oh yeah, another great choice. This movie, when you look at it, it feels like a 70s spy thriller. You know, it just, the intricate details that the Russo brothers were able to put into this one, and bring Cap after the Avengers into the modern time and how he's dealing with that and how he's, working on, combating Hydra, that's been hiding in secret all these years while he's been frozen. It comes together so great.
It was like peanut butter and jelly, literally.
I would agree with that. So for my number 2, I actually go with the original Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie is just the perfect blend of space opera and comedy. It felt like almost felt like a Star Wars movie, in the MCU. It was just because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and seeing this and seeing the brand new world out there, and seeing these brand new characters, nobody had ever heard of these guys before this movie. Only like the hardcorest of hardcore comic book fans had ever heard of Rocket Raccoon or Groot or Star-Lord. And the fact that James Gunn was able to, introduce us to these characters, and now, at just a couple short years later, they're like beloved characters now.
Right. Everyone loves Groot, especially the ladies. I know everyone's like, oh my gosh, Groot is so cute and adorable. My 2 cents on the original Guardians of the Galaxy would definitely be, it's definitely a classic for it being that it was Marvel's chance to take a risk and try something new, and they nailed it right on the head with James Gunn doing that. So
yeah, it's one that I continually go back to all the time.
All right, so then which brings us to number 1. My number 1 definitely is the first one that started it all, Iron Man. We got to see Tony Stark rise to the fame there and make his way of becoming the first ever Iron Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and especially first Iron Man movie ever. And it was his way to make a huge comeback after being out of movie pictures for quite some time. And he's bigger and better than ever because of him playing it. And not to mention, he's not just playing Tony Stark. I honestly say he is Tony Stark.
Oh yeah, it's completely agree. That like you said, it's what started it all. Similar to what you said for Guardians, it was essentially a brand new start for comic. That and along with The Dark Knight basically revolutionized how we view comic book movies today.
It's all related somehow type of deal.
Yeah, and just, grabbing Robert Downey Jr. to play this role and how he is this character now to us these days. And just watching him grow throughout the other movies and, just looking back at where it all started, it's amazing to see how far the MCU has come from there.
Right. Not to mention, like, we've grown up with him.
Yep.
Like when we back in 2008, it's been 10 years, so it's really interesting to just grow with him as well as a character.
Yep. So now to my number one, I went with Captain America: Civil War. This movie for me was essentially Avengers 2.5. You know, kind of basically setting up where we were gonna go from there, and a lot of times in these superhero movies, a lot of people say, well, you know, it doesn't seem like there's very many stakes. This movie showed the consequences of what happened in Age of Ultron,
Right.
and how the governments of the world responded to, you know, Sokovia almost being demolished, and you know, the different viewpoints that can come with that, and how, you know, you see these two, you know, great friends in Iron Man and Captain America having to, you know, not just fight against each other, but go against each other's ideologies.
Right.
You know, and the elaborate plan from Zemo, the villain of this movie, and how he was able to dig in and, you know, separate the Avengers.
From the inside, not just
Yep.
attack them full on. That's what I thought was really brilliant about that. It was just like you've ruined the Avengers. It's like you tore them all apart mentally.
Yeah, and now it leaves you wondering going into Infinity War, you know, obviously Thanos is, you know, a big threat and he's going to bring them together, but, you know,
Is that still going to be there?
How are the relationships between these characters going to be after that?
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Not to mention just the fact of it being of also them introducing a whole bunch of new characters. It was a great point to introduce a bunch of new characters.
Yeah, first introduction of Black Panther,
Spider-Man,
bringing Spider-Man in. Yeah, it was, you know, it's again, it goes back to what I said with Guardians. It's one that I continually go back and watch all the time, just to see the just some of the elaborate plot points that go into it, and the end fight between Bucky and Cap against Tony, and just the raw emotion between those guys, you know, battling against each other.
Yeah, it's devastating, especially the music choice and everything. You just feel the moment.
Yep.
Now, definitely we've discussed here our top 3 movies now. If you guys haven't seen those yet, I would highly suggest checking them out. They're really actually the most important ones, I would say, to go and check out if you want to, like, keep up to date with Infinity War and everything like that. But then also here, since we're talking about Infinity War, what are some of your predictions here with Infinity War as we see it tonight here in IMAX?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, like I said, obviously I'm looking forward to see how, you know, the relationships between these characters is going to be, you know, after the events of Civil War, and how they're going to come together. But also just, you know, how Thanos is going to be as a villain. Like, one of the big criticisms of the MCU is, you know, their heroes are great, but their villains, you know, are
don't
lacking.
live up to par.
You know, a lot of them do, you know, kind of devolve into those mustache twirling, you know, bad guys, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially when their heroes are so great. But I want to see what is going to make Thanos, you know, that threat that's going to bring these, you know, feuding parties together and, you know, defend the Earth from this, you know, big bad.
Right. I would say with my predictions of how I'm seeing it going, what I've noticed from the trailers is that definitely it's going to be a lot of different placed. Not everyone's going to be together at once. Everybody's going to be doing their own thing for quite some time, but then hopefully towards the end, everyone's all together battling it out. That's what I'm hoping for. And definitely, like you said, I hope that Thanos lives up to the name. I mean, they've been hyping him up since Avengers 1.
Since the first Avengers.
So he better be big and mean and bad. And honestly, there needs to be some death.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to, like, somebody's got to die, you know? That's what a lot of people are saying. I don't necessarily need there to be death, but if I had to predict a death, I honestly think that it might be Tony Stark, because he's been in it the longest, and it would, you know, that's one of those,
It's a very sentimental thing.
that's going to hit you right in the chest.
Right. I would say definitely then for me with predictions is definitely Captain America. I mean, you see him holding on to the Infinity Gauntlet hand in hand there, and it just looks like Thanos could easily kill him if he wanted to.
Yeah, and that's another one where, you know, it's going to be a gut punch, you know, and if they wanted to, if they did that, then you'd have the potential of Bucky taking over as the mantle of Cap and doing it that way, but no matter what happens, it's gonna be
it's gonna be a tearjerker.
It's gonna be a gut punch.
If anything, then these were our predictions. These were our top 3 Marvel Cinematic Universe favorites here. We're about probably to go watch it here in a couple hours. Going to chill here at Farquay Lake, I think it's called, here for a little bit, and then we're going to go and watch it, and we'll be here to give you a review right afterwards. So in the meantime, while we go watch it, here's a very special Infinity War trailer right here.
The entire time I knew him, he only ever had one goal. To wipe out half the universe. If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers.
We got one advantage. He's coming to us. We have what Thanos wants, so that's what we use.
Let's talk about this plan of yours. I think it's good, except it sucks. So let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
Wow.
The end is near. When I'm done, half of humanity will still exist. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. I hope they remember you.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using your made-up names. Then I am Spider-Man.
We have no words to describe of the movie that we just watched. As you can tell by the gloomy tone, some bad things happened. We needed at least 2 weeks to reflect on what we just saw. We've been in mourning. We won't tell you who or what happens, but it's very dark towards the end there if you haven't heard at this point. Won't give away any spoilers. Very, very fantastic flick overall. Great special effects, great team-ups of interactions of sorts. But overall, yeah, it was interesting and would highly recommend it to everybody who wants to go and see it. Otherwise, yeah, we don't want to spoil it for anyone. This is too good of a movie. It's already reached at this point $1 billion in the box office after 2 weeks. We took 2 weeks off to just let things reflect and let this kind of graze over and everything like that, but whew, it's insane. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Real Talk. We had a great time going to the Minnesota Zoo and getting a tour of the IMAX Theaters as well. We'll be back in the fall. Otherwise, Andy, do you have anything to add?